Welcome back to the Editors Roundtable on CNBC-TV18. Well, with the earnings season coming to a close, promoter selling within companies has now resumed. Nimesh, which are the stocks which are seeing promoter selling now? Take us through the list.
Well, I'll first talk about the list where the deals have happened, but that's going to be past, right? A lot of people would be interested to know where the deals are going to come. So I'm going to talk about that as well. But just to run through, where the deals have happened this week. This week we saw 3 large block deals happening. First was Data Pattern, which happened today on Friday. 1100 crores got sold and the strategic investor has cleaned out completely. So that was one. Vedanta promoter sold and raised close to 2700 crores. And BPCL, even the BPCL trust could time the sale and they sold close to 400 crores of stake sale. So that's in this week. But if you look at since January, there are some large blocks which has happened since January as well. Mankind Pharma was one. The promoter entity sold immediately after the results. So that was one. PB Fintech, PE investors sold close to 5% in the month of January. Indus Tower saw a large block. Again, private equity investors sold 9% of the company's equity in Indus Tower as well. And one was Tips Industries. Even there, the promoter entity sold close to 5% stake. But now the interesting part as to what to expect going forward now that the earnings season is over. Some of the anticipated deals, one, of course, is Interglobe. We've been talking about it as well. The promoter lockup has ended. So anytime, the large Ganwal block deal can come. So that's one. Interglobe is something to track. Even Zomato is something to track. I understand the strategic investor is likely to sell out a large chunk once the lockup ends closer to the month end. So that's something to track going forward. Hindustan Foods, again, there's going to be a large private equity stake sale happening very soon. And also Kalyan Jewellers, the promoter, the PE has been a seller of late. But again, I understand there's going to be a large block in Kalyan Jewellers as well very soon. So these are the indications of some large blocks happening. But if you look at this year, in the last 1 year itself, there has been massive selling happening. Some large block deals that has come across. CAMS saw promoter holding coming down by 20%. So that's the kind of stake sale which has happened in CAMS. Sterling and Wilson was another large block. The promoter holding has gone down by nearly 15%. Sapphire Foods promoter holding is down by 10% in the last 1 year. And so is Keynes Technologies, where the promoter sold close to 5% in the last 1 year. So, generally we've seen this trend for the last many quarters now. As soon as the earnings season comes to an end, you see a slew of promoter and strategic stake sales happening. And I expect more to come in the weeks to come.
Okay, all right. Well, that's interesting. But before we end the discussion, Mahesh, just coming to you, since earnings season is now behind us, what has your big takeaway been from earnings season this time around, where you see perhaps growth as well as value? Which are the sectors that you can identify?
Yeah, so this earnings season, I think the good thing is that overall we haven't seen any big downgrade to the aggregate earnings. While within that, okay, there has been a divergent trend. For example, we've seen coming in from the pharma sector. Right, automobiles have been good again. I think the biggest takeaway is that while the top line is understandable because WPI is low, your top line growth has been fairly in single digit, but your bottom line growth is still fairly healthy. So we have seen the margin improvement because of low commodity prices, and a few sectors like consumption, discretionary consumption, where the numbers have been a bit weak. But I would say that you have to look at slightly counter cyclical, right? So consumer discretionary is a sector which has seen a slowdown, the last 1 year or so. But again, we all know that India, that's a story, right? Discretionary consumption as per capita income goes up. That's where the bigger and the demographics. So, and those are the sectors, okay, where one would want to be slightly positioned. Again, it might take a couple of quarters for it to turn around. Again, sectors like chemicals, for example, again, disappointing numbers over there, going through that whole inventory correction cycle. So I think you have to look at in this market, especially for institutions to really be positioned, you have to be slightly ahead, slightly counter-cyclical. So these are the sectors probably where one can look at where the structural story is still intact, but going through a cyclical kind of downturn. Again, private banks, again, we discussed that, right?
Yeah.
So again, numbers are, there is some pressure, okay, in terms of growth, but fundamentally very sound, valuations are reasonable. So I think somewhere that mean reversion trade would also play out over there, I guess.
Okay, all right. We've actually run out of time, but thank you so much, Mahesh, for joining us. Yeah. And to all of you, happy weekend. I'm not going to ask weekend plans.
Weekend plans, but I guess, Anuj, you want to talk about Ulu's IPO?
I think you are more interested to talk about it. I think both of you should download the app.
I've not paid for the app, but still,
I want to check if you've already downloaded or not the app. That's the bull market, right? All kind of companies looking to raise money and strictly on fundamentals, the business is booming. Look at the numbers in the last 3 years.
Anuj, I'll tell you honestly, I'd never heard of Ullu before I saw your reel. I never heard of it actually. And the reel, you said that it's got the second highest number of paying subscribers after Netflix.
Second highest number of paid subscribers after Netflix, and very smart business plan where you have 5-day plan also, 5-day, 10-day, 1 month, and all. The reel, by the way, has already got 4 lakh views, so there's a lot of interest, right?
+1.
We know where everyone's interest lies, right? All right. Well, guys, have a great weekend. Thank you so much for tuning in to CNBC TV 18, and we'll be back bright and early on Monday morning.